The world thought it knew the depths of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, his arrest, his mysterious death, and the endless speculation that followed. For years the public believed the story had been told, that the darkest secrets had already been dragged into the light, but beneath the surface there were always whispers, rumors of hidden files of names and connections that had never been revealed, until the summer of 2024, when the world was jolted awake by a revelation no one saw coming. In a single explosive moment, a trove of unseen documents exploded into public view. The files long rumored to exist were suddenly real, thousands of pages, each one more damning than the last. Personal letters, private emails, and revealing photographs were released, exposing the inner workings of Epstein's secretive universe. These weren't just scraps of gossip or hearsay, they were the raw, unfiltered evidence of a world hidden in plain sight. This wasn't just another leak, it was a curated archive, reportedly assembled as a birthday gift for Epstein, now turned into evidence. The irony was chilling. What was once meant to celebrate him had become the very thing that would expose him and his network. The documents included correspondence from world leaders, artists, scientists, and business titans, each piece a fragment of a much darker puzzle. The names were not just familiar, they were iconic, representing the highest echelons of power and influence across the globe. For years, rumors swirled, but this was proof. The powerful had not just brushed shoulders with Epstein, they had befriended him. The evidence was undeniable, and the implications were staggering. Major news outlets published the files, shifting the story from Epstein alone to the elite who willingly entered his world. The headlines were relentless, each new revelation more shocking than the last, as the public struggled to process the scale of the deception. The shock was immediate. Names of celebrities, former prime ministers, and intellectuals filled the headlines. The world watched in disbelief as the list of those implicated grew longer by the hour. Seeing their words of admiration in black and white forced a global reckoning. How did so many powerful people get so close to such darkness? The question echoed in homes, offices, and parliaments around the world, sparking debates about complicity, privilege, and the true nature of power. For Epstein's victims, the release was both painful and validating, a public acknowledgement that he was enabled by a system of power. Their stories, once doubted or dismissed, were now impossible to ignore. The documents confirmed what survivors had long claimed: Epstein did not act alone. The evidence showed a web of collaboration, implicating not just individuals, but entire institutions that had looked the other way. Now, the focus shifted from the man to the society that protected him. The question was no longer just about Epstein, but about the culture of silence and complicity that allowed him to thrive. The world was finally seeing the ecosystem that allowed his crimes to flourish. Networks of influence, money, and secrecy had shielded him for years, and now, those networks were being exposed for all to see. And the demand for accountability grew louder than ever. Across continents, people called for justice, not just for Epstein's victims, but for a world that had allowed such darkness to fester in its highest ranks. The letters revealed a disturbing intimacy between Epstein and the world's elite. These were not just casual exchanges but deeply personal notes, invitations, and even handwritten messages that hinted at a level of trust and camaraderie most people never see. The correspondence painted a picture of a man who was not only welcomed but celebrated in the highest circles of power. Woody Allen described Epstein's dinner parties as surreal, with guests ranging from politicians to royalty, and young women serving, a detail that now reads as a warning. These gatherings were more than just social events, they were showcases of influence, where the powerful mingled freely, often oblivious to the troubling undertones. The atmosphere was one of opulence and exclusivity, masking the reality that would later come to light. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak praised Epstein's insatiable curiosity, calling him a collector of people, a phrase that now feels chilling. Barak's words, once meant as a compliment, now echo with a sense of foreboding, as if he unknowingly described the very mechanism by which Epstein ensnared so many. Intellectuals like Noam Chomsky and Lawrence Krauss also appeared in the archive, their words of friendship now deeply unsettling. These were minds celebrated for their skepticism and critical thinking, yet even they seemed drawn in by Epstein's charm and resources. Their presence in the letters raises uncomfortable questions about the allure of power and the blind spots it can create. These letters showed Epstein as a patron of science and a host of stimulating debates, masking his true nature. He positioned himself as a benefactor, funding research and bringing together brilliant minds, all while hiding his predatory intentions behind a veneer of intellectual curiosity and generosity. The elite's praise helped build his facade of respectability, blinding many to the red flags. Their endorsements, whether intentional or not, gave Epstein the credibility he needed to move effortlessly through the upper echelons of society, making it even harder for the truth to emerge. For the public, reading these letters was a stark reminder: power can be deceived by power. The shock and disbelief that followed their release underscored just how easily even the most discerning individuals can be manipulated by status and influence. The correspondence exposed how willingly many entered Epstein's world. Invitations were accepted, friendships were formed, and boundaries were blurred, all under the guise of exclusivity and privilege, and how easily they overlooked the darkness beneath. In the end, these words from the elite serve as a haunting testament to the dangers of unchecked power and the illusions it can create. The documents revealed that Epstein's network was not just large, it was sprawling and deeply entrenched, reaching into the highest echelons of society. His influence extended across continents, touching royalty, Hollywood, politics, and the world of business. These were not just passing acquaintances, they were powerful alliances, carefully cultivated over years. Epstein wasn't operating on the fringes of power, he was at the very center, acting as a connector between worlds that rarely, if ever, intersected. He moved seamlessly between exclusive social events, financial circles, and political gatherings, always at the heart of the action. Royalty, such as Prince Andrew, didn't just attend his events, they lent him a sense of legitimacy and prestige. Their presence made his inner circle even more desirable, drawing in others who craved proximity to power. Hollywood stars and cultural icons, including Woody Allen and Mick Jagger, brought glamour and allure to his gatherings. Their attendance turned his parties into must-attend events, where fame and influence mingled freely. Invitations to his parties became coveted status symbols, blending celebrity culture with intellectual debate. These gatherings weren't just about entertainment. They were about forging connections and exchanging ideas among the elite. Yet beneath the glitz and spectacle, Epstein's true power stemmed from his business and political connections. Media moguls, financiers, and politicians, including figures like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, were all part of his orbit, each relationship adding another layer to his influence. These relationships didn't just open doors, they provided him with access, protection, and a level of influence that few could rival. He was shielded by the very people who shaped public opinion and policy. His network acted as a formidable shield, making it nearly impossible for law enforcement to break through the layers of privilege and secrecy that surrounded him. The sheer scale and complexity of his connections help explain how his crimes remained hidden for so long, protected by a web of power, influence, and silence that spanned the globe. Newly released photographs from Epstein's Manhattan mansion offered a disturbing window into his private world. The mansion was a gallery of power, photos with world leaders, celebrities, and symbols of wealth on display. Oddities like a taxidermied tiger and a first edition of hinted at his twisted tastes. Surveillance cameras and a notorious massage room revealed a space designed for control and abuse. The room, filled with lubricant and disturbing decor, matched victims' accounts of where assaults occurred. These images moved the story from abstract connections to the physical reality of his crimes. The house was a reflection of Epstein himself, opulent on the surface, predatory beneath. The internet erupted as the documents went public. Hashtags like #EpsteinLetters trended worldwide. Outrage was directed not just at Epstein, but at every powerful name in the files. Social media users became investigators, connecting dots and demanding action. Calls for full transparency and unredacted documents grew deafening. Mainstream media was forced to follow, dedicating major coverage to the revelations. The story dominated headlines, and those named could no longer hide behind denials. The public's fury signaled a shift. Scandals involving the elite could no longer be quietly managed. People demanded justice, no matter how powerful the accused. This release is more than a headline, it's a turning point in the Epstein investigation. The documents show Epstein's power was built on his network, not just his money. Letters reveal how he used flattery and access to shield himself from consequences. Legal experts say these ties could spark new investigations and corroborate victims' stories. The revelations force a moral reckoning for the elite. Why did so many ignore the warning signs? The intimacy of these connections is now deeply unsettling. For years, secrecy protected the powerful. Now, sunlight is breaking through. The release sets a precedent, making it harder for the elite to hide. It's a crucial step toward uncovering the whole truth. The scandal has shattered public trust in powerful institutions. Letters and photos show how closely Epstein mingled with those who shape our world. The elite's willingness to overlook his crimes suggests a different set of rules for the powerful. The justice system's reluctance to release more documents only deepens suspicion. Academia, too, faces scrutiny. Letters from respected figures reveal how funding and access can cloud judgment. The scandal exposes a culture of impunity among the elite, damaging the social contract. Rebuilding trust will require more than apologies. It demands real transparency and accountability. no one should be above the law. As the world absorbs these revelations, one question remains: what happens next? Will this evidence lead to real investigations and consequences, or will outrage fade and the powerful retreat? The public and press must keep up the pressure for full transparency and accountability. For survivors, these documents offer hope and validation, but justice requires more than headlines. The focus must shift to Epstein's enablers, and legal consequences must follow. The scandal is now a mirror, reflecting society's flaws and the urgent need for reform. The future of justice depends on our collective will to confront the truth and demand change.